again, what this guy's story has been, yo, I came over to dance. They wanted me to fuck her. At first, Diddy had this thing kind of covering his face, but I could tell it was Diddy because I heard the voice. And then later on, as the more I came over, Diddy would just greet me with no disguise on. Keep in mind, there was disguise worn by Diddy. Like he had facial covering, bandana that was only showing he had a hat on and bandana below here, so you couldn't tell. They said he could tell by the voice. Also with Cassie was wearing a wig. It says the man had a white robe on with a bandana over his face, below his eyes, and a baseball cap. From his voice, I recognized that it was Sean. It says she was in a room, that's Cassie, in a red wig, stockings, and sunglasses. So it looks like Diddy kind of understood that they had some incredible notoriety, but he was trying to get these kinks off with regular people and people who probably, you know, were new, right? Because it doesn't seem like he was trying to have the same sex worker fucker. It seems like he was like, yo, he wanted new people to fuck her. But he didn't want them to know that's Cassie and Diddy. So she would wear sunglasses, a wig, and whatever to disguise her, and he would be like, you know, which I ain't gonna lie, like, that's some crazy shit, but whatever, bro. Yo, Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? The worst part about this case is the freaky shit. I still can't tell if maybe Cassie wasn't with this. It's just that everything I hear, I'm like, ooh, why would you do that to a girl you like? And that's the problem for Diddy, because to the normal people, if you love a woman, you wouldn't want another man in her mouth. You wouldn't want different men just showing up, banging around, all up in her stomach. Like certain things like are abnormal. And I don't think that's evidence of sex trafficking. That's evidence of either weirdo behavior or a nigga who's a freaky ass nigga. However, sex trafficking kind of becomes, if you too freaky, you probably did that too. From the minds of a regular citizen. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be war when they're going to give out the jury guidelines to deliberation, because yes, everything we heard sounds mad freaky and like, ew, why would you do that? Like, ew, in her mouth, ew, yo, these guys, like he was telling these guys like, no, they wanted to use a condom. Diddy would say, fuck that, no condom, fuck my bitch raw. That's what Diddy was on. Like, that kind of sounds like, bro, if you're doing that, you probably did traffic. But that's not necessarily the definition of sex trafficking. This is what makes this case really hard. Yo, Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? Diddy's strategy is very clear. Yes, I used to whip some of these bitches' ass. No lie. But I never trafficked. They tolerated the abuse because they were getting some shit out of it. Yes, I wasn't the best person. However, I was not someone who was trafficking and doing whatever, and a RICO for sex trafficking, that sounds major. We thinking about people just being in a truck. Like you just grab a bunch of women, put them in a truck and bring them to another state just for them to get fucked. Remember Diddy submitted this motion to say, hey, I'm not pleading insanity, but I was mentally incapacitated during this whole time. I was drunk. I was high all the time. I was going through deep depression, and my mental state wasn't as someone who was normal and insane mind. Now, that doesn't mean, because he's not pleading insanity is almost like pretty much is tantamount to like a guilty plea. Say, yeah, I did this shit, but I wasn't in my right mind. He's not saying he did it. He's just saying, I want to introduce this argument that, and it's to humanize him because he's admitting the beatings. He's going to be like, yeah, my mood and me beating these women were because, yeah, I was going through a lot. I was drunk all the time. My mood was all over the place. I was going through depression. Again, he's not charged for the beatings, but he needs to humanize himself because you never know how the jury might look at it. The jury might be like, well, if you beat their ass, you did the rest of the shit. So whenever the prosecution rests, they're going to bring in some mental experts. I think they even argued about some of the experts that would be qualified to come in that are going to then try to say, hey, his behavior, even though violent, isn't a sex trafficker, but it's someone who went through years of untreated substance abuse, bipolar disorder. Your Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? So look like after the Intercontinental Hotel where he beats her ass, right? Remember, this idea of this hotel footage is that she was trying to escape. Yo, she was trying to get out of there. This was like her last this was like Toby running away from the plantation. You get what I'm saying? If you're trying to run away from the freak off there, you're not coming back to do it again, right? It looks like they get cool, and then they basically say, yo, it looks like it's within the same week because they mentioned the day. right? You wouldn't mention a day if it's not in the same week. Ventura, Cassie says, we need a different vibe other than what happened Friday at Intercontinental. What does that say, Chad? It says that even though this quote-unquote brutal beatdown, a couple days later, she was ready to do the freak off again. She just wanted a different vibe. Think about this, Chad. It appears that, and tell me if you think it helps or hurts Diddy. It feels like most of their communications were done in email and text. So you would see Diddy ask for sex, like, yo, let's fuck, right? Rather than get on the phone and there might not be a record of it. So they have all these text messages, and these text messages kind of show step by step what their conversation's like. I think it helps Diddy. The more text messages that exist shows that, hey, all right, after the fight, yo, they're still communicating, they're still talking freaky. If you don't have these messages, like say they are still talking freaky, but it's only phone calls, it's he said, she said. She gonna be like, yeah, I don't remember talking freaky with him after that. But you have it here in text messages. We got it in 4K. So I do believe that these messages are helping Diddy, because I don't think she would testify, oh yeah, no, we were just playing, like, yeah, I kind of forgave him mad quickly for that, and then we were playing another freak off. Yeah, Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? But we do kind of find out that the Intercontinental freak off was Cassie's idea. Cassie literally says, I want to freak off so bad. When she was asked about this in her direct, she made it seem I gave him a freak off that he didn't ruin my premiere. I needed, she was describing Diddy as some monster that you had to make happy that he wouldn't ruin your life or he wouldn't ruin any opportunities that you had. But we're seeing it might be the opposite. Look like she wanted to do the freak off, and he would try to figure out, okay, let's figure out where you could go to your premiere, get enough sleep for that, and we could still get at least, you know what I mean? They're calling 9-hour freak off. They said that was a short freak off. Jesus Christ. I hope they used to tip the people in the hotels who had to clean up after the freak offs, bro. It got to be mad disgusting. Astroglide, lube, baby oil, plugs, fecal matter. This shit was nasty. Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? By the way, also, we did get a revelation that Cassie got another $10 million, but she got it from the Intercontinental. So it looked like she was about to sue the Intercontinental for leaking that video, right? And, obviously she would be a victim of domestic assault, and leaking that video severely damages her reputation, and they gave her $10 million. So Cassie's been collecting the bag. That's $30 million. So she got her 30 no matter what. Cassie really the 30 for 30. You get what I'm saying? Fruit Jams in the chat, what up? I've noticed one thing about the women that Diddy has really dated or kind of locked in, with the exception of Young Miami. Like, Young Miami just didn't fit the mold. Remember Gina Huh when she's on Tasha K and Tasha K says, take a drink, and she hurries up and drinks? Diddy dates people pleasers that probably have a hard time standing up for themselves. Now, some might call that submission, but I think it's more than submission. It's women who aim to please, and not only, but in every way. They want you to be happy with them. Maybe you could call that low self-esteem. I don't know. Also, if we go by the story, look like Diddy, part of his game was telling her she ain't pretty enough. Yo, you look too Mexican, man. Fuck out of here. Yo, that performance was bad. It was less about reassuring her and more about putting her mindset down, and that would get her to want to please him more. Again, just even look at, remember, granted, Charlamagne is a powerful guy in the music industry, has a big voice, pause. But Charlamagne just flat out called her untalented. And 2 minutes later, Charlamagne's like, nah, they can't hear you. Say it louder. And you could tell, like, she's so quick to, yeah, my new single. Like, her reaction is to just do what the person's telling her to do to please the person. Fruit Jams in the chat, what up?